What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders Awakened on my alt account. Now, I've given it a bunch of thought, and I decided to go ahead and end the Rift mode playthrough here. Now, I wanted to add in a little bit of closure and kind of go through why I'm deciding not to continue on in Rift mode. Now, I did do half Rift mode, half not Rift mode to get through. I turned Rift mode off for the throne room and then for the summit as well. But there's a few reasons that I decided just to go away from that whole Rift mode start. And first things first, when you're talking about Rift mode, the main reason, that you do Rift mode is for the Rift armor sets. Now, you're not going to be able to put any of these armor sets together as a new player just joining the game without putting in some grind, which means you're going to have to go back and grind maps over and over again to get the correct pieces that you need with the correct stats you need. Personally, when I'm experiencing the game brand new, and I think the same, most people would probably say starting the game, adding in the grind too early kind of loses quite a bit of its pizzazz, as you just don't feel that progression that you do early in game as you're just playing through it normally. Now, in addition to that, remember Rift sets or Fusion armor sets don't mix with regular armor sets. So the first goal when you're putting armor sets together, of course, is always to get a full armor set. So every hero should be in a specific set. In this example here on the monk, I am in guard gear. Now, say I found this rifted guard piece and equip it, well, I lose that set bonus. You see, the Guardian's Grace is now grayed out, and I lose the 40% increase to stats on these 4 pieces. Now, that means that you have to go all rifted or none rifted at all. Now, I do think it's very beneficial to get yourself a Rift weapon as you're playing through, and I think my suggestion would be, as a new player just starting the game, to grab yourself one Rift mode weapon from like Act 1 and then again from, say, Act 3 to get you through all of the campaign. This is going to give you a rifted weapon that has an element on it that can't be, or no enemy will be immune to, and additionally is going to do double damage to all of the bosses, because bosses are all Rift enemies. Now, in addition to that, the real thing that threw me over the edge is you lose more than you gain from playing in Rift mode. Now, when you get into Rift mode, particularly with the increased archer range with the homing arrows, and additionally the Dark Elf Warriors, you just have a really good chance of getting hit. Now, as most of you know, the little wave bonuses or awards that pop up each individual wave, one of them is invincible, which means you didn't get hit at all through the entire thing. Now, invincible is a per wave modifier, and of course the XP that you gain in a map scales up from the beginning to the end of the map. The ending waves are worth far more than the beginning waves. Now, if you get hit in one of the final waves, you're losing a substantial amount of experience. Now, whether you're playing Rifted or non-Rift mode, one thing is of absolute fact, and that is as you're playing through the game, you're gonna end up getting gear that you can't equip yet. So even if you're going through on medium mode, no matter what difficulty or toggle that you're using, you're going to end up getting gear that you can't use as you're under-leveled. So as a new player, when you're just experiencing the game, one of the biggest goals, of course, is to hit those level milestones. The first one being level 60. That will allow you to fully upgrade all your towers, and then also equip the legendary gear that drops from Insane mode. Second would be level 70 to get into Nightmare mode, and then third would be level 83 to get into Massacre mode. You can't go into Massacre without a level 70 hero. You can't, into Nightmare without a level 70 hero. You can't go into Massacre without a level 83 hero. So if you don't have those, you are not going to be able to get into the game mode. Now, this is where the game forces a grind upon you, And I really think that that is the best time to switch over from normal to Rift mode. When the game forces you to grind and you have no other choice, then you might as well grind, have a little fun, and try a new experience in Rift mode. So, in Insane or Nightmare, depending on your personal preference, I personally am probably going to say I would recommend people wait until Nightmare to go into Rift mode. So basically break into Nightmare, farm up some gear, and then while you're going through that grind to get up to level 83 to unlock Massacre, that would be an ideal time to switch over to Rift mode and farm up a few armor sets, and then you'll be good to go to jump right into Rifted Massacre when you get to that stage. Now, I did an example here on getting hit and not getting hit. I just did Deeper Well on all 4 heroes brand new on hard mode, and there was actually about 1,000 XP difference, or the 10% difference, from getting hit. Now, on the non-Rift mode, I didn't get hit at all. On the Rift mode, I got shot by 1 arrow in wave 5. So it was the highest XP wave. However, I ended up getting more XP from the non-Rift mode and not getting hit than I did from Rift mode getting shot by 1 arrow. So it's kind of a struggle. I mean, if you want to do Rift mode from the beginning, you can. However, I personally don't think it was an overly enjoyable experience compared to the regular vanilla playthrough experience. And I think that most new players are going to be better off waiting until they get to Insane or Nightmare mode to make that switch over to Rift mode. Now, as I mentioned, I did want to end this series out or give it a little closure. As you see, I have been playing, so there's more content coming that I still need to edit out. However, let's take a run through and I'll show you the builds I used on the Act 3 maps as I got through the rest of the campaign. Now playing through, I basically did the exact same thing I was doing on all the other maps. I utilized a lot of proton beams with an electric aura and an ensnare aura. I didn't use any walls still until I got all the way through to Summit. Now, took some of y'all's advice from the comments. I spent a little bit of time parked on top of the crystal. And additionally, I used the decoy a lot more. I was using the decoy really, really well in like Act 1 in this playthrough, but in Act 2, for some reason, I just stopped using it altogether. And the decoy really made a huge, huge difference against those Dark Elf warriors, no doubt. Now over on the Royal Gardens, same thing once again. We did have flyers here. I didn't set up for the flyers, so I manually killed off all the flyers. But I just spawn camped the best I could, or created a little area of proton beams with electric and snare, and then a couple of buff beams at every choke point. But one big difference here, and that is without a doubt using Act 3 Rifted weapon. The Huntress weapon in Act 3 is the paintball gun, and as soon as I got that paintball gun, I did sink all of my gold into it. I wasn't able to get it upgraded all the way. However, it made a massive difference in melting these mobs. Now in Prom, we just got an update, and we have an additional 15 DU now. So 125 DU, that allowed for some pretty crazy proton spider webs here. This, of course, being the main entrance here on Prom in hard mode. So I really camped the crap out of this one. Protons everywhere with an ensnare and an electric aura. Now, the combination of that paintball gun and just using the decoy, I mean, a lot of times I didn't even need to drop the decoy anymore with the Dark Elf warriors now, just having a higher quality weapon. So the paintball gun from Act 3 for the win. I probably should have not been so stubborn on wanting to use one of the crossbows and went with an apprentice weapon, as the apprentice weapons, or even monk DPS for that matter, is just going to be quite a bit better than the minigun or that flamethrower you're going to get in Act 1 and 2. But I like the crossbows, and I like the pews that you get out of it. Now, getting that paintball gun, as I mentioned, was just quite the game changer. And here's a look at the stats that I ended up finishing the playthrough with. This is the Summit. There's my lovely paintball gun. And these are the final stats I went with. Now for the summon, I did move that rock pet that I got from survival over to the monk, as I didn't want to have any movement restrictions on getting around the map during the boss fight. I did do the summit on non-rifted just to get it clear, and it went super smooth. I also took advantage of bouncer blockades. As we all know, they are just completely beast mode for the flyer lanes. So I had bouncer blockades with an ensnare and an electric aura for the flyer lanes, and then proton beams with ensnares down on the other lanes. Now I created kind of a inverted Y shape with different proton beams down at the very south side of the map down there to allow the enemies to walk up through the beam as they were getting into it. Now, having that paintball gun, even not fully upgraded, still just made light work of the boss, really. No major issues. I even had a big choke, and I missed one of my harpoons. But, as you see here, just burning through it without any problem. Not even in position yet. And still got a nice bit of damage for a first attempt and the very first knockdown there. So, definitely bringing the pain with that fusion paintball gun. Once again, even though this is non-rift mode, all bosses in the game are rift enemies. So if you get a fusion weapon and bring it with you over into non-rift mode, you're still going to get the bonus of the double damage against the bosses. That's why I say I think it's very beneficial for a new player just starting the game to get themselves a rifted weapon at some point. However, I wouldn't prioritize it. It is a little luxury. If you're a Huntress player or you like using the crossbows on the EV, I would definitely strongly suggest getting one in Act 3, as it's guaranteed to always be a rifted paintball gun. So all you have to do is complete any Act 3 map in rift mode to get that paintball gun. But that will do it for now. I'm going to be live later on, as you saw, I am now leveled back up, and it is grind time, no doubt. So I need to grind to level 70 before I can get into nightmare mode. So that is 100% the place I'm going to do it. Is I'm going to start off in Ancient Mines, survival, on insane mode, and going to grind that out until I'm geared enough where I can move on to Prom or one of the other maps. But that will do it for now, and that will end this series. Now, I'm going to do a lot. I'm going to keep continuing on in this account. However, I'm not going to give myself any restrictions about Rift mode or non-Rift mode, and I'm going to play through with some progression that will benefit people down the road as the game hits the various console launches. There will be a first attempt in insane survival, there will be first attempts in nightmare survival, etc., etc. And survival, of course, is where the grind takes place, no doubt about it. So thank you all so much for watching. As I mentioned, I will be live later on today getting this grind underway a little bit more. I do have my very first attempt recorded, and I'll get that edited up tonight and up onto the channel probably tomorrow morning as far as insane survival goes. So no real reason to mess around in campaign anymore at all, other than just unlocking maps so that you can do it in survival. So thanks again, y'all, and I will see ya next time around. Take it easy.